Good morning, everyone. Please maintain complete silence. Our guests are arriving. Yes. Good morning, everyone. Please rise to welcome our chief guest for the day, Sri Venu Rajamani, Faculty of Diplomatic Practice, General Global Law School, and former Press Secretary to the President of India. Our presiding officer, Reverend Dr. Matthew Koikara, CMI, Vicar Provincial, SH Province. Reverend Father Paulus Kidangan, CMI, Director, Rajagiri Public School. Ms. Ruby Anthony, Principal. Dr. Jijo Paul, PTA President. And Dr. Bruce Matthew, PTA Convener of today's program. A hearty welcome to all of you. Please be seated. Good morning to all of you. There is a power stronger than the majestic blow of a gust of wind, the blazing heat of a flame of fire, or the turbulent force of a cascade of water, and that is the potency of positive human thought. It is this immense power that we unleash in the Rajagiri campus today as we gather here to inaugurate the St.Chavara lecture series. This endeavor is a quest for wisdom, and the biblical book of Proverbs says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." Please rise as the school choir leads us in prayer. To make us all feel welcomed, we have Manjeera Emdas, Assistant Head Girl.
Distinguished guest of the day, Professor of Diplomatic Practice, Jindal Global Law School, and former Press Secretary to the President of India, Sri Venu Rajmani, Vicar Provincial, Sacred Heart Province, Reverend Dr. Matthew Koikara CMI, Director, Rajagiri Public School, Reverend Father Paulos Kirangan CMI, Principal, Ms. Ruby Anthony, PTA President, Dr. Jijo Paul, PTA Convener of today's program, Dr. Bruce Matthew, PTA representatives, heads of various institutions and well-wishers, parents, teachers, non-teaching staff, and my dear friends. A warm welcome to each of you present here today. The St.Chavara lecture series is not just an event, but a celebration of knowledge, a getaway to new possibilities, and a testament to the spirit of learning. Today, we embark on a journey of exploration, seeking to understand the opportunities for the world in the broader context. The lecture series is aptly named after the spiritual person of innovation and visionary ideas. This series carries forward the intellectual mark of blessed Saint Kuriakose Elias Chavara. Today, as we navigate through an increasingly interconnected global society, it becomes imperative to recognize and seize the opportunities that arise. This lecture series aims to shed light on these prospects, fostering a dialogue that transcends borders and opens doors to collaboration and growth. It's with immense pleasure that I introduce the chief guest of the day, Sri Venu Rajmani, Professor of Diplomatic Practice, Jindal Global Law School, and former Press Secretary to the President of India. He's an Indian diplomat and historian affiliated with the Indian Foreign Service. On 17 September 2021, he assumed the role of Officer on Special Duty External Cooperation, holding the rank of Chief Secretary in the Government of Kerala. Concurrently, he serves as faculty for diplomatic practice at the Jindal Global Law School of OP Jindal Global University in Sonipat, Haryana. Before his current responsibilities, he served as the Ambassador of India to the Netherlands from 2017 to 2020. Additionally, he held the position of Permanent Representative of India to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons in Hague, overseeing India's engagements with the International Court of Justice and the Permanent Court of Arbitration. He was also the former Press Secretary to the President of India. May I extend a warm and gracious welcome to our distinguished chief guest, whose presence elevates the significance of this renowned occasion. We welcome you, sir. A heartfelt welcome to our Vicar Provincial, Sacred Heart Province, Reverend Dr. Matthew Koikara CMI. It's the inspiring and encouraging leadership that propels us forward in our relentless pursuit of excellence in the field of education. His guidance fuels our mission and motivates us to reach new heights in our educational endeavors. We welcome you, Father. A warm welcome to our PTA President, Dr. Jijo Paul. His leadership is a beacon for our parent-teacher community. We are delighted by your presence here this morning. We welcome you, sir. A hearty welcome to our PTA convener of today's program, Dr. Bruce Matthew. It was his relentless effort that this program is possible today. A warm welcome, sir. A hearty welcome to our finance manager, Reverend Father Anthony Kalamassery CMI, heads of various institutions and well-wishers. A warm welcome to our headmistress, Mrs. Beena Baby. It's the teacher that makes the change, not a mere classroom. A heartfelt welcome to our teachers, whose dedication is interlaced with the success of this occasion. We extend a welcome to our non-teaching staff for their tireless efforts behind the scenes. A warm welcome to all the students present here. I extend my welcome to all the PTA representatives and parents gathered here this morning. A pleasant welcome to the press who have arrived here to take a wide coverage of the St.Chavara lecture series. The lecture series is a rich domain, brimming with knowledge and insights that eagerly await our exploration. As we commence this inaugural St.Chavara lecture series, let us embrace the knowledge that awaits us and open ourselves to the possibilities that Kerala and the world has to offer. May the series be a catalyst for intellectual growth, fostering a community dedicated to shaping a brighter future. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Manjeera. As Vicar Provincial of SH Province, Reverend Dr. Matthew Koikara CMI is closely connected with all our school initiatives. In the past decades, he has rendered valuable service among people from all walks of life, and this makes him a treasure trove of the wisdom of life. I request Reverend Dr. Matthew Koikara CMI, Vicar Provincial, for the presidential address.
Professor Dr. Venu Rajamani, Reverend Father Paulos Kidangan, our Director, Mrs. Ruby Anthony, Principal, Dr. Jijo Paul, PTA President, Dr. Bruce Matthew, PTA Convener, my dear staff and non-teaching staff, students of Rajagiri Public School. Friends, first of all, may I wish a prosperous and blessed New Year 2024. It is my privilege to be here as a member of the CMI congregation, along with our dear Director, Father Paulos Kidangan. It is an indigenous congregation for men in India, and we are proud of St. St.Chavara being one of the founding fathers of the congregation. We are participating in Chavara lecture series in the year 2024, which aims to carry forward the intellectual, spiritual, and visionary spark of the great sage St. Chavara. This platform of listening to the contributions of St. Chavara will definitely inspire our students to become well-rounded individuals. From many platforms, I could learn from the honorable speakers that among the Indian federal states, Kerala stands at the forefront in two important fields. They are hospital field and the education field. It is true, but we have to understand who are the major contributors in these fields. Kerala's unique position in India's educational map is not the result of a recent burst of activities in the field of education, but rather of wise policies implemented by its rulers and the intellectual pursuits of its people spanning several centuries. St.Chavara is the bright star in the galaxy of these enlightened people who, through his far-sighted vision and mission, strived hard to eradicate the darkness of illiteracy. Certainly, I can say it is the contributions of the Christian communities played a vital role to bring Kerala at the forefront. I focus today on the field of education. As you all know, St. Chavara is one of the greatest social reformers of 19th century Kerala. He believed the power of education as a means to uplift the society. What he did was simple in principle: to attach every church a school. പള്ളിക്ക് ഒരു പള്ളിക്കൂടം. To open the doors to everybody, including the poorest of the poor, even the Dalit community and women. It is significant that the Malayalam word used in the circular for a school is pallikudam, which literally means a house attached to a place of worship. The second part, kudam, in Indian language can mean, among other things, a house. And the first part, palli, although it generally refers to a small village, it came to mean a mosque or a church, respectively for the Muslims and the Christians in Kerala, and the school attached to these places of worship gradually came to be known for all the people as Pallikudam. These schools were not catechetical schools meant for instruction of Christian faith and morals. Instead, they were private schools where religion and secular subjects were taught. When the government and the private schools were not open to lower castes, Father Chavara took a brave step in welcoming all the people of God and committed himself to working for their empowerment. It is possible that many of them, in the course of time, became regular schools run with government financial aid. An acclaimed educationalist, Father Romeo Thomas CMI, said, Father Chavara began thinking of establishing a central college belonging to the Church of Kerala. But under the given circumstances of his times, he could not excuse it. My dear friends, when we study in Rajagiri Public School, a prestigious center of learning in Ernakulam district, we should be proud of the pioneers who has initiated this institution, taking into consideration of the need of the society, with a great vision that all the children of God, let us focus not on the performance of the saint. He has touched most of the needs of the people in the society, including the establishment of Sanskrit school, a charity home at Kainagari, pediary system, midday meal scheme, print media, to name a few. But the inspiration, the motivation of this great sage to execute all wonderful things to the society is very, very important. The initiatives he made in the field of education originated from his own personal charisma and his compassion and love to the Lord Almighty, whom he considered and addressed as Abba, Father. Father Chavara's God orientation germinated in the family. It grew in his community. And finally, its effect was felt by the whole church and the country at large. A person who is really united with the Lord will be thrilled to spend his whole life and caliber for the love of the neighbor. May St. Chavara intercede for us to have a grace-filled education from this seat of wisdom, Rajagiri Public School. Let this St. Chavara lecture series inspire us to make a positive impact on society and to work towards a more just and inclusive world. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father. May the visionary thoughts of St.Chavara lead us in this wonderful endeavor. There is no better way to set our thoughts ablaze than by the imagery of fire. In a beautifully symbolic gesture, the St. Chavara lecture series will now be inaugurated by the lighting of the ceremonial lamp. I request our chief guest, Sri Venu Rajamani, to light the lamp and thereby inaugurate the lecture series. I request Reverend Dr. Matthew Koikara CMI and the other dignitaries to join him. Please rise. Thank you. Please be seated. This is an extremely proud moment for Rajagiri Public School. The St. Chavara lecture series has officially been inaugurated by Sri Venu Rajamani. I request you, sir, to remain on stage as the other dignitaries occupy their seats in the auditorium. Sri Venu Rajamani's impressive life profile bears testimony to the efficient service he has rendered to our country in connection with international relations. As one of the most successful diplomats India has witnessed, with a service record of 34 years, he is definitely the ideal person to inaugurate the lecture series and present the premier talk on the topic Kerala and the World, Opportunities for the Future. I request Sri Venu Rajmani to enlighten us.
Good morning to all. What a beautiful day. I'm so happy to be here in the Rajagiri Public School with all of you. Reverend Dr. Matthew Koikara, the Director, Dr. Paulos, Principal Ms. Ruby Anthony, the Headmistress, Dr. Jiju, the President of the PTA, Dr. Bruce Matthew, members of the faculty, teachers, ladies and friends, my dear students. Let me begin by saying how deeply honored I am to be invited to deliver the inaugural lecture in this new St. Chavara lecture series, which is being launched by the Rajagiri Public School. I'm grateful to the Rajagiri Public School, the CMI congregation, the principals and other teachers, the PTA, which has taken great enthusiasm to reach out to me for having bestowed this honor upon me. And I am very delighted to have all these young minds in the audience here listening to me at this lecture. What I plan to do is to briefly share some of my thoughts with you and then go into a question answer session. I have been already provided 8 questions from different students. I look forward to answering them, hearing them and answering them, whatever be the format. But at the outset itself, I want to encourage every one of you. Should I? Yeah. I want to encourage every one of you to be also spontaneous and ask questions from the audience if you feel like. Do not, based on whatever you hear, whatever I say, if anything comes to your mind, if there is anything else in your mind which is not connected to what I say, please feel free to raise, because it is truly through an interaction that we will all learn. I would like to begin today by sharing a few thoughts on St.Chavara. Reverend Dr. Matthew Koikara has already enlightened you. And then we had chosen a topic in consultation with the principal and the PTA, which was Kerala and the world, opportunities for the future. I think this is an important topic which each one of you would be interested in, you would like to know. So I will share some thoughts with you, and I would be happy to have a discussion later on that. And following the topic, I will just conclude my speech telling you what I believe are some do's and some don'ts. Things as you go forward, as young people entering into life, entering society, what are some of the do's that you should keep with you at all times, and what are some of the don'ts that you should avoid in your lives as you grow up and become older, become bigger, and start contributing to society in a big way. So to begin with, let me share a few thoughts about St.Chavara. You heard Reverend Dr. Matthew Koikara about his life, about his contributions. I have a small request to each one of you who's here in the audience, the students in particular, but also everyone else, parents and teachers. St.Chavara is such an inspiring individual, a man who in the 19th century started a great movement which is today the CMI, and a man who was a social reformer. He was born early 19th century, he died towards the third half or the end of the third quarter of the 19th century. So a man who was a social reformer at the time. And it is important for each one of you as you step into the school. I know you are all busy with your classes, you have your homework, you have your assignments, you have your friends. There is much to talk about, much to enjoy, celebrate. But somewhere in between all this, if not once a day, once a week, if not once a week, once a month, take a moment to reflect on the life of St.Chavara. What is it that made him a saint? Why does the world remember and we all talk about him? Why is it that a lecture series is being inaugurated in his name? And what is the founding ideals which has contributed to the establishment of the great CMI and all the institutions under it, and the continuous service that is being rendered? St.Chavara, I was just double checking, had his initial primary education, but at a very young age, around 24, he went into the seminary, he became a priest, and he continued his education. But unlike all of you, he didn't have a formal education till the 11th or the 12th. He didn't go to college. He didn't get degrees, I presume. But the very fact that he chose to be a priest has a message in it. And that is the life of a priest. Choosing the life of a priest means you are dedicating yourself to lifelong learning, irrespective of degrees, irrespective of certificates, irrespective of institutions. Wherever you are, whatever you do, you are a lifelong learner. And once again, what does it mean to be a priest? You are dedicating yourself to a lifelong service. Service to God and service to humanity. Service to people. So St.Chavara was a person who at a very young age chose to become a lifelong learner and a man who would dedicate his life to service to God and service to humanity. Father Matthew Koikara spoke about his different innovations, the Ucha Kanyi, bringing Sanskrit education, bringing Dalits into schools at a time when in our century, in our society, untouchability was rampant. When people who belonged to the Dalit or tribal communities could not walk on roads around a temple, let alone enter a temple. Even God was limited to a few elites. There was a time in our society when lower caste women could not cover their chests. They were supposed to go bare-chested as per rules of a caste order, which was unequal, unfair, discriminatory, and oppressive. It is into such a society where British colonial rulers were ruling us. We had Maharajas as titular heads of the places we were living in, but they were weak, they were powerless. And while there were progressive rulers who promoted education, social reform took a long time and great effort to take root in our society and for that society to reach where we are. Today, when you sit in a large class like this, in any walk of life, in Kerala in particular, but even in India, you don't know what the caste of the person sitting next to you is. You don't ask what the caste is. And by law, the constitution and various legislation prohibits any kind of discrimination. It provides a series of measures to support and uplift the previously, for centuries, discriminated against communities. So in modern India, we have achieved all this. But in 19th century, St.Chavara was a progressive thinker, a man of great conviction, a man of vision who said, this is unacceptable. This should change. Education is the birthright of everyone. And like I was particularly delighted to see what an enthusiastic and highly efficient PTA you have. I enjoyed my interaction with them. Students, please give a big round of applause to the PTA. I think they are doing a wonderful job. And there again, what is the lesson we learn? What is the lesson that St.Chavara taught us? Which is, any task, we must involve the community around us. St.Chavara as one individual, members of his congregation could have done a lot, but that is not enough. He had to involve, inspire, bring the community to collectively work. It is exactly in this model that Rajagiri Public School gets the support of the PTA because they are the community behind the Rajagiri Public School and they bring great strength to the teachers and the management of the Rajagiri Public School. So St.Chavara taught us to be a lifelong learner, taught us to dedicate our lives to service to humanity. He was bold, visionary, brave, to stand against iniquities that he saw around him, wrongs in the society that he saw around him, to challenge it and to work to change it. by starting schools, by bringing education, by creating midday meal programs, and by telling everyone, again to echo what Father Matthew said, we are all children of the same God. The same God exists in every one of us. We may look a little different, we may speak a little different, we may believe in different religions, but ultimately it is the same God which resides in each of us, something which Hindu scriptures describe as Aham Brahmasmi. Brahma the God is within each one of you. And if Brahma the God is within each one of us, there is no difference between us. We are all equal, we are all the same. And we must treat each other with respect. We must treat each other with love, compassion, kindness, and we must support each other. So these are some of the great lessons that St.Chavara taught us. And what I asked you initially when I said, when you come into the school, remember, even if it is for a second St.Chavara, it is what made him great was not his wealth. What made him great was not a PhD degree or a large number of qualifications that he acquired. What made him great, while he was a great scholar, he was a poet, he was a lyricist, he has written wonderful works which you must read and study when you can. But beyond all that, what made him a saint, what makes him remembered with great fondness and admiration by each one of us is his service to humanity. Therefore, once again, the very purpose of this lecture series is to create all-round wholesome individuals of each one of you. What do we mean by all-round individuals? It is to say your exams are extremely important, your books are extremely important, your studies are extremely important, but that is not enough. You have to, each one of you, if you're a child of God, you have come into the world with a purpose, with a mission. You have to make a difference to the world. You have to make a difference to the society that you live in. You have to contribute something to the world and leave behind a legacy. And your studies, your books, your degrees and your qualifications can help you in it. But that requires something much beyond. That requires you to remember St.Chavara, to learn from his life, to draw inspiration from him, to become lifelong learners, and to dedicate your life to service in whatever manner. Nobody is saying that you should be a social worker throughout your life. But each one of you in your individual lives can make a difference to the people around you. It could be your family, it could be your parents, it could be your siblings, it could be your teachers, it could be a boy or a girl next door, it could be a poor person that you see on the street, it could be an animal which is suffering for want of food or water, a bird which is suffering because of the heat. You can make a difference, and you can make a difference by saving energy, by switching off lights, by not wasting food. There are 1,000 ways in which a young person like you can make a difference, and that is what St.Chavara teaches you. And I encourage each and every one of you to learn this lesson and to remember him having come here. Let me, having said this as an introduction, let me go to the topic which I chose is Kerala and the world, opportunities for the future. Now, what is special about Kerala? When we think in terms of Kerala and the world, Kerala is one state which has been connected to the world for centuries. It is one state which has had interaction with the world, interaction with people from other countries for centuries. It is one state, and when I say state, not just Kerala state as it was formed, but this entire region, what was known as Malabar Coast in history, has had people coming from abroad come and live here, and we have welcomed them with open arms. And we've had people who have ventured out into the sea, gone to foreign lands, lived there, studied there, worked there, and built human bridges of friendship and contact with countries of the world. All of you know, or if you do not know, if you study history, let me tell you, from the time the monsoon winds were discovered by the Romans, sailors started traveling, riding the monsoon winds in the great dhows, the great sailing ships, from West Asia to India. And they came to the coast of Kerala, they came to the Malabar coast. When the southwest monsoon came, they would come from Africa or from the Arab lands in their sailing ships, and they would come to Kerala. And they would stay here till the northeast monsoon blew in the opposite direction, and they would go back. And they brought with them trade. They brought with them ideas. They brought with them knowledge of the world outside, and they brought with them friendship. And along with trade came our great religions. You all know Christianity came from abroad. St. Thomas himself is believed to have brought Christianity to India. Islam came to India from the Gulf region, accompanied by traders. There is a wonderful mythological story of one of the rulers of the then Kerala, Cheraman Perumal, traveling after having heard about the birth of Islam, traveling all the way to Mecca, meeting the Prophet, and then being converted to Islam, and on his way back, dying off the coast of Salalah in today's Oman, and his followers, Malik ibn Dinar and a few other Arabs, coming and establishing the first mosques across the coast of Kerala and Karnataka, including the mosque in Kodunallur, which is believed to be the oldest mosque in India. The Jewish community is known for their presence in Kerala and in particular in Cochin. It is believed that they first came after the sacking of the first temple in Jerusalem around the 57 AD. And there have been successive waves of the Jewish community to Kerala. And across the world, Jews have faced discrimination. You would know about the Holocaust, what happened during the Second World War and prior to the Second World War. But in India, Jews were always welcomed with open arms. They were treated with respect. In Cochin, they were leading businessmen. They were successful interpreters, translators, diplomats. They performed a wide range of roles, and the synagogues here can still be visited. And of course, Kerala's famed spices, our pepper, our cardamom, our cinnamon. This is what brought the world to us in the early days, and subsequently during the period of European colonialism. The Portuguese came here first, the Dutch came here then, the British came here, large number of Christian missionaries came. They rendered wonderful service in the field of education, in the field of health. They worked amongst the poor. They strived to eliminate inequalities amongst people. They worked closely with the local rulers, but subsequently we also had continued contacts with the rest of the world. Kerala's contacts with the world has never broken. And these contacts have grown from strength to strength. Most of you would know that it is believed that there are over 12 million Indians in the Gulf today, out of which more than half are from Kerala. The population of Indians and the population of people from Kerala outnumber the local population in many countries. And there is no country in the world where people from Kerala has migrated, let alone the world. There is probably no part of India where people from Kerala have not gone, live, work, contribute to the societies that they live in. And a great tradition has also been the service that we render throughout the country, across the world, including in some of the poorest countries in Africa, through the church, which has a very active and strong representation from Kerala at all times, but also as nurses, as doctors, as teachers. There are many political leaders in Africa who remember how their first teacher was a person from Kerala, sometimes a nun, sometimes a lay person. So wherever people from Kerala have gone, one, they have shown that they are adventurous. They are not scared of going to a foreign country. Two, they are willing to assimilate and integrate into the local communities. They do not go there and create little islands for their own, but they merge and they join the local communities. And three, they look at the local communities, they study what happens there, they do their best to contribute to these local communities. At the same time, they try to bring back to India, bring back to Kerala, the best that they see outside, the best that they learn outside. And in fact, today, Kerala is a wonderful example of the Gulf influence. You just walk through the streets of Cochin, you go to the marketplaces, you will see how many people have opened shops which have an Arabic flavor, how many new restaurants are there which provide Arabic food, how the foreign influence in cuisine, in restaurants, in habits, in our language can be seen from the time of the original Arabs going through the Europeans till the modern day contacts once again with Gulf and other European countries. So this is the context. And you as young people from Kerala, you as students of a wonderful institution, an outstanding institution which exists here in Cochin, you are inheritors of a great legacy. You are inheritors of a great tradition. And it is your duty to uphold this tradition and to strengthen it. And here, let me quickly talk about the opportunities before I go to the do's and don'ts. What are the opportunities? For young people like you in today's Kerala, in today's India, in today's world, opportunities are limitless. The sky is the limit. Please remember that. In every new field, you as young people have access to knowledge, have access to information, have access to technology, which none of the elders in this room would have had when they were children. When we were children, we had not heard about a computer. It was after I joined the Foreign Service and I went to China that I got my first personal computer. This thing called mobile phone didn't exist, let alone mobile phone. We did not even have direct dialing. If I had to speak to Delhi or Mumbai, I would have had to book a trunk call and wait. And those days are long past. Most of you are born, and probably one of the earliest gifts that you get from your parents or from your elders is a computer or a notebook or a laptop or a phone. So you today live in a world of endless opportunities. And these endless opportunities span every aspect of your life and every aspect of your studies. They are too large to enumerate, but let me still list a few. All of you know we have just come out of COVID. Now, what is the most important lesson that COVID gives us? The most important lesson that COVID gives us is the importance of public health, an area where Mr. Srinivasan from your PTA has been working in. We must ensure the best of sanitation, the best of cleanliness. If diseases like COVID, if viruses like COVID are not to attack us, disrupt our education, disrupt our lives, disrupt our jobs, and disrupt our economy. We must build immunity. I was delighted to know that last year there was a marathon which was held here. We must build our health. We must build immunity because we do not know what are the diseases of the future. What are the viruses of the future? And today, as I told you, Kerala's nurses, Kerala's doctors are known across the world. They are welcomed across the world. I had opportunity last year to travel with the Chief Minister to UK, to Finland, to Norway. Everywhere they are saying, please send us more nurses. We want more nurses. And in the post-COVID world, we want mental health nurses. They are saying, please send us junior doctors who can work with us, train with us, then go back to India. And as I already mentioned, in public health, this is a challenge which faces the whole world. So while we in India, we in Kerala must do our best, we must also collaborate with the world to learn what is best in the world and also how we can take our best practices to the world. So health is one area for those interested in medicine, for those studying science. There is limitless opportunities abroad as well as in India. Similarly, engineering. Now, if you take engineering, you're sitting in a building, but how many of these lights are energy efficient? How many of these are controlled by sensors, wherein by walking in, they come on, and when you walk out, they can be switched off? How many of the buildings are built energy efficient and compliant with the best of environmental standards? And how can we design buildings which merge with our nature, which are not just wooden boxes, but bring in the plants, bring in the light, bring in the air into our buildings and take us out? And how much can we preserve the nature around us, because it is this wonderful Mother Nature who sustains us and gives us life through sunlight, through clean air, through oxygen and clean water. And how do we address the challenges that face our society? In management parlance, problems which are difficult to solve are called wicked problems. How do we address the wicked problems that we see around us? Each one of you will see waste being thrown on the roads or waste being dumped in somebody else's backyard. Many of you yourselves might be doing it. How do we stop that? How do we segregate waste? How do we process waste? Kerala has beautiful rivers, beautiful lakes, but these lakes are sadly polluted. How many people do you see swimming in them today? And many of you would have lived through the fire which happened in Brahmapuram, which caused smoke and ash all over Cochin. I come from Delhi, and every winter in Delhi, because of smog and pollution coming because of paddy residue being burnt in UP, Haryana and Punjab, there's a dark cloud. People's lungs are affected, people's health are affected, air quality is extremely poor across India. How do we find solutions to these challenges? How do we collaborate with the world? How do we find, innovate, create solutions like St.Chavara did in his times, which can serve our society and which can serve the world? Similarly, a whole new world emerges because of computers, because of technology, because of artificial intelligence, which many of you are aware of, you know, you have been using. As young people, you must absorb technology, you must assimilate technology, and you must learn to use it to the best of your abilities for all the tasks that you see around, because technology is inescapable. And how do you ride the wave of technology into the future? What are going to be the jobs of the future? We do not know. But something like artificial intelligence is eliminating jobs whole scale. Jobs of the future are going to be jobs where creativity is important, where human contact is important, where compassion and contact with people, where support with people, kindness. If you have an old person suffering from loneliness, imagine, can artificial intelligence solve their problem? But any one of you who will go and sit with them for half an hour, for 1 hour, Talk to them. Tell them about your studies. Tell them about your school. Tell them what is happening in the city. You will make a huge difference to the quality of their lives. So these are the jobs which are going to be not replaced by technology, not replaced by artificial intelligence, and you must prepare for it. And an important thing that you must remember, once again a lesson from St.Chavara, you are going to have to constantly learn and relearn. You are going to have to constantly adapt. By the time you enter college, by the time you enter the workplace, technology would have changed more things. So even if you learn a particular subject, even if you learn a particular skill, you must be ready for lifelong learning. You must be ready to acquire new skills. So similarly, if we take trade, I spoke to you about the spices trade. Think of the products that we have available in the markets. Think of the products that you use every day. Today, in an interconnected world, the whole world is accessible to you by internet. In our childhood days, we used to have pen pals. Sometimes schools would introduce us, magazines would have lists. You could find the address of a person in faraway Europe or Africa or Latin America, write a letter to them, they will write letters back to you, you become friends. But today you have the email, you have the Facebook, you have WhatsApp, you have Instagram, all forms of social media. It is so easy for you to make friends across the world. And make friends not just for friendship's sake, but to do things together. Teach them about your culture. Teach them about your language. Teach them about our society. Tell them about the beauty of Kerala. And similarly, learn from them. And ask them, can we do something together? Can we do a project for my school? Can you help in terms of service to our community? Or you help in terms of service to their community? Or as young people, can you have a business idea? Can you start a small business together? Can you become an entrepreneur even before you leave school? And how do you contribute to the world? So these are some examples, but I'm saying, but any sector I think of, any area that I think of, if it is food, the world is still discovering Indian food. How many beautiful things exist in Kerala cuisine that the rest of India doesn't know, that the rest of the world doesn't know? How many beautiful things exist within Kerala? The cuisine of Malabar, the cuisine of the Travancore region, the cuisine of the Syrian Christians. How do we exchange? How do we spread knowledge? A lot of young people today put out ads for items that they bake at home and sell on Facebook. They make food at home. Families make food at home, have children delivering it to houses or use Swiggy or Zomato or any other form. So technology and interconnectedness has opened up a huge amount of opportunities for you that you must use and you must develop. For example, I was recently in Thalassery for a meeting of the Brennan College alumni, and I heard that the first bakery of modern bakery was opened in Kalamassery, and it is believed that the then British sort of lord of that area called a local man and said, here is a cake from England, please reproduce it. And he reproduced it to a quality as good as in England, and that's how Thalassery acquired the name for being a bakery. So I suggested to them something which I suggest to you. I said, you in this hall, I too studied in a similar school next door to you. I studied in St. Joseph's in Kalamassery. I was familiar with Rajagiri even then, and I was a great admirer of the Rajagiri school. So each one of you, if I can reach whatever I have done, if I can achieve that, you can achieve that and much, much more, because you are far more empowered than any time before. And in life, there are always setbacks. There are always ups and downs. Do not lose confidence. Do not be demoralized. If one door closes, 100 others will open for you. There are 1,000 opportunities out there. If you set your heart on one thing and that doesn't work out, do not feel bad. Immediately look at what is the next best thing you can do and devote yourself to that. And what you should not do, please remember some of the evils that St.Chavara fought against even today exists in our society. Even today, we must fight against discrimination. We must challenge and object to anybody who tries to spread hatred amongst people. Anybody who tries to say that one person is superior to the other. Anybody who tries to say that one person is better than the other. We must constantly reiterate and strengthen the message that we are all children of the same God and we are one as human beings. And we must constantly, I see this large community of girls in this audience and I'm extremely happy. I'm told they do very well in their studies and exams. But even today, despite being the most progressive state in our country, every day you hear sad stories and horror stories about crimes against women, about dowry deaths, about young women committing suicides, young educated women, because somebody ditched them or disappointed them. This should not exist. It is the duty of every boy and every man to both treat every girl and every woman as an equal, but also to look after them, to protect them, and to ensure they get every opportunity possible that a boy has got. And this is a message that we from Kerala should carry to the rest of the world. And friends, the third thing that you should not do is, and I know you live in the internet age, all of you, it is very easy to look at something on the phone or on the computer and then forget about it. The habit of newspaper reading is coming down. The habit of reading books is coming down. Please, please do not stop reading. If anything has held me in good stead throughout my life, it was a quality which my school teachers inculcated in my school days of reading newspapers. I used to be selected by my headmistress and asked to read the news every day during morning assembly and give a summary to all students. That inculcated in me a habit of reading newspapers, an interest in reading newspapers, an interest in world affairs and what is happening in India. That taught me vocabulary which I never knew before. And this led me to a career as a journalist initially, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then I went on to study law. I went on to study international relations. I became a diplomat. I traveled across the world. I worked for the Indian government. I worked for the Kerala government in great places like Beijing, like Geneva, like Washington, D.C., like Dubai, and lastly, Netherlands. I worked as press secretary to the president. So that habit of reading, that foundation of reading, especially of public knowledge, general knowledge, public affairs, has always stood in me in good stead, and that is something I strongly recommend to you. Friends, concluding, let me say, please, Dr. Abdul Kalam, our former president, said, as a young person, armed with technology and confidence, I felt to not be ambitious is a crime. You must be ambitious. You must aim for the stars. You must soar high like the eagle. And the whole world is your oyster. You can achieve whatever you want. You can make, please dream and dream big. And you can realize your dream. You can fulfill your dream. All that is required is hard work, perseverance, and learning examples and lessons from great people like St. St.Chavara, as well as your teachers, your principal, your director, and your parents, all elders around you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. That was a wonderful journey you took us on. You started with history and then touched on harbors like medicine, engineering, cuisine, technology, practical do's, don'ts. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience listening to you. And we promise you, sir, that the next time you visit the Rajagiri campus, we will welcome you with a slice of delicious Rajagiri cake. A familiar but thought-provoking rhyme by Rudyard Kipling goes, I had 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names were what and where and when and why and how and who. A question is the most important sign of the thinking mind. Sri Venu Rajamani's talk would definitely have sparked questions in your mind too. And it is our fortune to have the answers from him. On to the interactive session. Students, you can put forward your questions to the chief guest and the speaker of the day.
Good morning, sir. I am Kaladas Sarpale of class 11. Sir, we would like to know what are some of the short-term and long-term reforms which can be implemented, especially in schools, to promote creative thinking and human resource development in Kerala.
Thank you. I think this is a huge topic which by itself will require not just one lecture but many lectures. And in many ways, your own teachers are probably the best guides to tell you what kind of reforms would help. But I would say, first of all, to begin with, and this is addressed as much to the faculty and the management, please be innovative. Do not confine yourself to the curriculum. I'm sure you're already doing that. And look at the world, look at how we can bring in practical experience. And as I said, creativity is going to be the most important skill of the future. How do we bring creativity into our students? Across India, and I hope Rajagiri is different, the problem is that our centuries-old tradition of rote learning persists and continues. If you look at the Indian students, Chinese students who go to the US do extremely well because their foundation is good. The foundation that you get in India through your school education, in terms of English language skills, in terms of basic knowledge of mathematics, science, general knowledge, is wonderful. And that is very good. It helps our students perform extremely well abroad. But if you think of it, after Dr. C.V. Raman, not a single Indian from India has got a Nobel Prize. Every single Indian who has got a Nobel Prize after that has gone abroad, worked in a foreign university, studied there, and it is that environment which has helped them reach that peak of excellence. So this is the challenge for education. Along with the strong foundation that we provide our students, we must encourage creativity. We must encourage self-confidence, something which I said in our speech. You know, I've been fascinated. You take an American student of this age, you tell them to speak on any topic. You tell them to sort of make a humorous speech. Tell them to say a thank you, welcome, whatever. They say it with such confidence. They say it with a sense of humor, and they say it with spontaneity. This is a skill we do not adequately inculcate in our students, and that skill comes from starting it at a very early age, but also encouraging students to think for themselves, encouraging students to question. I think Father Matthews talked about the need to criticize, to question. You should learn to be critical. Uh, Professor Amartya Sen has written a book called The Argumentative Indian. A great tradition in ancient India was to argue, to debate, to discuss. So this we should bring to the students at the earlier stages and in as intense form as possible so that they develop that confidence. And we must inculcate spontaneity. Don't over plan, don't over prescribe, don't over choreograph. Encourage students to be confident enough to come up and question, challenge, debate. Even today, I know when I was in Netherlands, I asked a multinational company which employs large number of Indian engineers what the experience with Indian engineers is. And they said outstanding engineers. They have engineers in Bombay who are as good as their best engineers in the Netherlands. And when they work together as a team, sometimes Indian engineers are better. But they said there is one problem. If I call a team of my Indian engineers and tell them, okay, I want you to criticize, tell me what am I doing wrong? Nobody will reply. Nobody will say you're doing something wrong. They are too scared. They are afraid of challenging authority. They are afraid of the elders. They are afraid of the teachers. They are afraid of people who are senior to them or their bosses. While in many societies, the Dutch in particular, are known to be blunt. They will tell you, look, I think you're wrong. What you're doing is wrong. There's a better way of doing this. The Americans are known for their plain speaking. So that skill of being confident, of being creative, of being innovative is something which doesn't come easy to our traditions where there's a lot of respect for elders, a lot of respect for teachers, which is a background of rote learning. And that we must change, and I think that is one of the biggest challenges of education in India.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Tanya of class 11. My question is, how can Kerala strategically forge international partnerships to capitalize on technological and educational opportunities for sustainable growth?
Here once again I would refer you back to my speech where I outlined a number of opportunities. For a state as a whole, there is a lot that can be done. You said sustainable, you said opportunities. Look at the sun outside. Have we tapped solar energy enough in our societies? I do not know how good this campus is, but everywhere where we get sun today, technology is developed so that we can build panels on top, we can meet our own energy needs, we can contribute to the grid. There are areas in India where there is wind power. There are areas in Kerala where in Palakkad area, you can have wind power. There is tidal power in the seas outside. The future is that of renewable energy. You yourself would have seen transport is slowly changing from petrol and diesel. We are going into electrical vehicles. There is talk about green hydrogen vehicles coming. Again, Cochin is supposed to have the potential for becoming a great hub for green hydrogen. And green hydrogen comes from water, H2O. You have studied it. If we can break water and take out hydrogen with using a green process, that hydrogen can power vehicles. That hydrogen can move turbines and create electricity. So technology is creating enormous opportunities for us. And these opportunities exist for Kerala as a state to lead because we have some of the most talented, most intelligent people that we can find in our country, most educated people. But to each one of you individuals, I will say, you must think about what the state can do or what India can do, but also think of what you can do. What opportunity can I, in my house, can I develop a little solar light which will help reduce waste? Can I switch off, I was told in Delhi the biggest energy efficiency measure that in many places in India can be implemented is to make sure that the chowkidar switches off the lights in the evening. If the security guard or chowkidar forgets to switch on the lights, whole night the light runs. How can we change that? How can we move with technology, or how can we have methods of monitoring, inspecting them so as to not waste even a single ounce of energy? And similarly, we leave switches on, plugs plugged in even when there is no need. We must remember that there is constant damage happening to the ozone layer. How much can we reduce the use of AC? How much can we reduce the use of the refrigerator? How much can we return to great natural traditions? As children, cold water used to be stored in a man kodam. And even today, that is what is most important. Can we eliminate single-use plastic from our societies? Wonderful, we have a glass instead of a plastic bottle. Can we completely transition to no plastic? One of the great traditions in Kerala, when we used to go shopping as children, was that vegetables or fruits would be wrapped in old newspaper. Today you go to supermarket and you get a plastic bag. So how do we ensure that each one of your children can tell your parents, your neighbors, your brothers and sisters, use a cloth bag. Do not use plastic. Eliminate the plastic in your house so that the plastic can be destroyed. Or if there is plastic, how can you convert them? What a beautiful vessel in which this flower is. Can we convert plastic bottles into vessels? Can we have vertical farming? What innovations can we think and do? And that will take both Kerala as an economy and sustainability as a cause much ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Joshua Jacob from Class 8A. The National Family Health Survey states that Kerala is far ahead when it comes to the media exposure that people enjoy. 99% of men and 94% of women in Kerala have access to the media. How can this be used to our advantage regarding international opportunities?
Very good question. Can I ask for a simple survey? How many people in this audience read a newspaper every day? Can you raise your hands? Honest, please be honest. Nobody's going to punish you if you are dishonest. Good. Wonderful. I'm glad to see so many hands. Come, please put your hands down. Please put your hands down. Okay, hold on. Put your hands down. Can I have some quiet, please? How many people read news from the internet? Raise your hands. Okay, very good. Much larger number. How many of you read all the news and only little bit of the news? Only little bit of the news, can you raise your hands? Those who read? Yeah. See, very few would read all the news. Or if you take a newspaper, what we used to say as end-to-end newspaper. So the first thing you should remember, thank you, please, those who lifted your hands, thank you. So first thing to remember is access to information is not the same as information. You may have a newspaper coming to your house, but if you are not reading it, it is of no use. But similarly, when the number of hands which goes up for internet is much higher than those who read newspapers. So newspapers are a habit of the older generation. With younger people, much more people acquire information through internet, but there's nothing wrong in it. But please remember, for us, when the newspaper reading generation, we would have a front page with the leading news, we would have an inside page with local news, we would have another page with India news, you would have a foreign news page, you would have an editorial page, you would have an economic news page, you would have a sports page. So for those who are in habit of newspapers, you would at least skim through the whole newspaper and you will focus on what is of most interest to you, what you like reading the most. But the problem with the reading news on the internet is it is so vast, you don't skim through. For those interested in sports, you go and read sports. For those interested in economics, you go and read economics. For those interested in what is happening in Cochin or what is happening in Rajagiri school, you will read about it. So you're not seeing the whole picture. So access to information is not the same as information. Information about everything under the sun is available on the internet. But there is also a lot of wrong information, fake news, and complete rubbish. You should first learn to look for news which is important to you from all aspects of life. And secondly, you must learn to distinguish correct, good, factual news, what are the good sources from what are bad news, what is fake news, and not get misled, not get confused, and not be misguided by people who deliberately put wrong news out there. A world of information about a world of opportunities across the world is available in newspapers, on the internet. It is up to you to read it and not to understand it, assimilate it. Most important of all, use it effectively. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Sara from class 11. My question for you is there scope for Kerala to tap into emerging global industries such as eco-friendly renewable energy sources to diversify its economic landscape and create a new avenue for development?
As I answered the previous question, it is not just a question of hope for Kerala, it is inevitable, it is unavoidable. And it is unavoidable not just as a state or a society, but in each one of our individual lives. We must stop the pollution that affects our air. We must shift from petrol and diesel to electric cars or to other renewable energy modes. We must reduce waste in our use of power. We must use renewable energy in every form possible, both in terms of generation and consumption in our daily lives. That is the only way forward. Our planet is at risk. Climate change is real. Cochin is supposed to go under the waters if the ocean continues to rise. We must arrest this rise of the oceans. You all know what is happening with the rains. We have extreme climatic events. Either there is too much rain altogether or there is no rain. Climatic patterns used to be regular. Monsoons would come on this month, end on this month. Now they are irregular. And because the air above the oceans are heating up, there are cyclones forming, there are depressions forming, and they bring unseasonal rain, which destroys agriculture, which causes flooding, which creates a lot of problems for all of us. In places like Panambali Nagar in Cochin, water tides have already started coming into house. People are having to either demolish and rebuild or to cut their houses and raise it on stilts so that they can escape the water. So climate change is real. Damage to the environment is real. Why do, when there are floods, when there are heavy rains, landslides occur? Landslides occur because we have cut too many trees. Trees provide soil with a binding force. Trees and rainwater sheds in the mountains help hold the water back, and they don't come together with great force. So we need to plant more trees, we need more forests, we need to protect our very fragile and sensitive Western Ghats. We need to reduce the use of power, we need to eliminate waste, we need to convert to renewable. There's no other alternative.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Diya Srikumar from class 9. We all know that Keralites are generally very progressive. Often they're very curious to visit abroad, go abroad, study abroad. And I remember my teacher using this saying where she said, even if you go to the moon, you'll find a Keralite with his tea shop there. But this is now called brain drain. How can Kerala counter or minimize the harsh effects of this phenomenon?
Good. The whole word brain drain initially started being used in the 60s when a large number of products of IITs, the best educational institutions in India, started migrating to the US, settling there, living there, working there. But while initially people thought of it as a big concern, then they realized, number one, there's nothing you can do. We are not a controlled society, we are a free society. If somebody wants to travel, somebody wants to go abroad, live abroad, acquire the citizenship of another country, work there, nobody can prevent him. Secondly, the people who go abroad ultimately remain your people. It is my experience of living abroad for nearly 34 years that there is not a single Indian abroad, and not just an Indian citizen or a person who recently left India, but even people whose ancestors migrated from India, who do not have an attachment to India, who do not carry a little India in their hearts, who are not fond of Indian food, Indian movies, Indian music, Indian culture. So there is a little India in every Indian going abroad. There is a little Kerala in every Malayali going abroad, every Keralite going abroad. So the challenge for us, there is no point crying over brain drain. We cannot stop it. But we should see it as brain circulation. We should see how we can preserve, nurture, strengthen that little Kerala, little India in them. We must see how we can bring them back, not necessarily, if not to come and live permanently, but at least on short-term visits. At least to come and do business here, to open a school here, to open a company here, to open a college here, to come and give visiting lectures, to talk to students about the best things which are happening across the world. We must connect with people going abroad so that we maintain our links stronger and persuade them to come back. And look, I served 34 years traveling around the world. I live in Delhi even now, but my heart is in Kerala. And I keep coming back to Kerala every single opportunity that I have. It is undoubted that the quality of life in Kerala is far, far superior to the quality of life anywhere else in India or most parts of the world. And let me also tell you, having lived in Europe or even having lived in the Gulf, you know, we take many things for granted. This glorious sunshine that we have is God's greatest gift to us. If you live in a cold, damp country where you do not see the sun throughout winter, you get depressed. You are caught up in many European societies. People don't mix as friendly, as easily as we do in India or in Asia. They don't have big families and friends around them. So they lead lonely lives within cold, damp houses. Just a husband and wife. Sometimes if one partner dies, one person. And as you grow older, the problems become more and more because you have no children nearby. Children are working, they don't have the time to look after you. You go to an institution for aged people. So we take a lot of our gifts for granted. We take the sunlight for granted. We take a fertile soil for granted. Which country, which area of the world will anything and everything grow in your backyard? We take these wonderful rains for granted. You need to water in dry season, but you get so much free water from the sky. And you look at the natural beauty. It is not simply that the tourism department chose God's own country as a tagline. Anybody who comes from anywhere in the world will fall in love with India, would want to live with India, would want to study in India, in Kerala. So we have much going for us, but that doesn't mean everything is right, everything works well. We were talking about education reforms. I was talking about wicked problems, waste management, pollution. There are 1,000 issues there which we need to address to make our lives better. So we must do that. But a person's desire to go abroad to study, to work, to settle there if he so chooses, cannot be stopped. But collectively, we can tell them, go if you want, but keep coming back. Even when you go, think of what you can do for Kerala. Think of how you can connect to Kerala. I was telling about you people as young people, connect with a friend and do business. In Kakanad, there is a wonderful Kerala startup mission. I would encourage the school to invite them to come and make a presentation or take students there. I met a young couple who had gone to Germany, who had done their PhDs in a German university. And one wife has stayed back in Germany. The husband has come back to Kerala. In Kerala, in the startup mission, he has started a research consulting firm, whereby research required for the university there, he gets it done here, hiring people locally. So look how wonderful, because they went to Germany, they got best education, went to the best university, they had a global exposure, and they realized what is the need of that society and what is the standards to which that need needs to be built. One of them came back. There is plenty of talent available in Kerala. We don't have enough jobs. They started a company. They are providing jobs. They are bringing talent around. They are connecting them to the international market. They are teaching them how a German university works, how you work to their standards. They are giving them gainful employment, and it's a great partnership at work. Kerala is aging, but similarly all Western societies are aging. Western societies are declining in population like we are declining in population. But still, because our population is large, we have an advantage. Kerala's population is bigger than the population of many countries. And because we have education, we have talent, and because we have a service mentality, our nurses, we are sought across the world. So there's no point saying don't go abroad and study. There's no point saying don't go immigrate abroad if somebody is determined to do it. I don't think it is everybody has to immigrate, but it is an individual choice for people. I have chosen to come back. I could have stayed in a foreign country, but I chose to come back. I like being here. I want to be amongst my people. I want to be in my culture. I want to have my food, and I want to contribute to my society becoming bigger, stronger, more successful. That my happiness lies in that. So similarly, we must encourage people to continue to contribute when they are abroad, to keep Kerala abroad in their hearts, and to invest in Kerala in whatever manner they can, with little time, with little energy, with money, into a charitable project, into an education project, into a business idea. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Balananda from class 8. My question to you is, worldwide, the education system is focusing on positivity, happiness, and as you said, building the confidence of their students. While the education system in India and Kerala is highly competitive and result-oriented and frankly very stressful for the students. So how do we bring about a change to positively affect our students?
Well, this is again a topic on which I would love to hear your views and your teachers' views. But since anyway we are short of time, let me tell you that it is an unfortunate reality that competition and stress is a major part of young people's life, and that causes a lot of problems. I know across the world, even in India, in places like Delhi where great reforms have been attempted, people have been constantly trying to reduce the workload of students, reduce the weight of the textbooks which each student has to carry. We live in a world where there is much reform which is needed, but you work within a system of curriculum, CBSE, exams, so you cannot completely eliminate competition. So it is up to the parents and teachers to work in partnership to ensure that while a minimum of competition is there, unavoidable, and cannot be eliminated, it is combined with happiness. It is combined with a stress-free life, and it is combined with a lot of relaxation. This can happen only through partnership, and just as I told earlier my student friends to question, to challenge, to debate, please talk to your teachers. Please talk to your parents. Do not hesitate if you feel you are stressed out, if you feel you are being pushed into too much competition. This has to be done collectively. Unhealthy competition is bad. I was talking to the Minister for General Education of Kerala some time back, and I had brought experts in education from Finland to Kerala to work with our education administrators to improve our education system. And Finland education system is considered the best in the world. And one of the reasons is because they make happy students, because they encourage peer learning, because the workload is less, and they emphasize creativity, innovation, spontaneity, self-confidence. So we must the education minister told me that I think he was trying to eliminate the number of class hours from 5 to 6, or the age at which you join school. He wanted to raise it from 5 to 6. And the biggest opposition was from parents. So if the parents push their children to be competitive and start in kindergarten to worry about which university they will go to, what job they will do, then the children will suffer. So the parents have to change. They have to tell themselves, not everybody is going to be a top ranker or a doctor or an engineer, but every one of them can be a success in life. Each person's talents are different, skills are different, strengths are different. We must find them, we must cultivate them, we must encourage them. Similarly for teachers too. Please give a big hand. Right? And let me tell you also, the most modern education systems have what is called an inverted classroom. In most of our schooling time, I don't know to what extent it continues today, the teacher comes and gives you a lecture in class, you are given homework, you go home, work on that homework and come back. And next day you show your results to the teacher, she corrects it, gives you marks, and that's how she assesses you. What is the inverted classroom? The teacher tells you, go home, use the internet, use any public source, read. Read about the history of Kerala. Read about Kerala's foreign contacts. Come to class tomorrow, let us have a discussion. I want to hear each one of you talk about one aspect of Kerala's contacts with the foreign world. I want you to contradict each other. I want you to challenge somebody who may make a mistake. I want you to point out to the others how they have missed out some points. So we create debate and discuss. The entire time in class should be spent on debate, discussion, learning from each other and learning from the teacher. It is a cooperative exercise between the teacher and students rather than a one-way traffic of a teacher coming and lecturing to you, because as happened in my speech, I'm sure in any lecture you absorb only a small percentage. A lot gets lost. But if you read on yourself, if you research, you come and speak on your own, you prepare to speak on your own, you will learn the best. I'm sure all the teachers will agree. I learned it as a professor. It is only when I became a teacher I really learned. Otherwise I was reading books and I was forgetting. But when I had to come before a class like this, when I had to face questions, then I'm very worried. I don't want to be embarrassed in front of you. So I work very hard. I study very hard. I do my best to remember all my facts and to have my arguments right. Okay? So all the best. We must have stress-free student life.
Thank you very much, sir. We are certain that the future policy makers in the audience will remember your words always. Each of these thoughts.
Excuse me. Do you want one last question, spontaneous? Anybody from the audience?
One last spontaneous question. Yes, we already have somebody.
Please go ahead. I saw two hands.
Sir, you told us to question authority, but our society is built on respect. And so when we question somebody in a position of higher authority, they feel like we are disrespecting them or we're being oversmart. So in this society, how can we come across as not overbearing or offensive to somebody who is in a higher position of authority while making our point?
Thank you. Very good question. Please go ahead. And I'm glad it is a spontaneous question. So, any transition is not easy. It will be difficult, there will be tensions. But the important thing is to understand that it is good to question and to accept it. And if the Parent-Teacher Association, if the teachers can accept that and give the students that freedom, then let the students question. Sometimes each individual questions in a different manner. Sometimes somebody may be abrasive. Sometimes somebody may cross the dividing line between disrespect and questioning. In the initial stages it will happen. But that act of questioning, that act of thinking, that act of saying, look, I don't have to agree with everything that is said. I can have an alternate viewpoint. That is extremely important. So I would say you must do whatever you do with respect. But disagreeing is not respect. There's this famous saying, I disagree with everything that you say, but I will fight till the end for your right to say whatever you say. You have the freedom to dissent. You have the freedom to express your view. And we must, if we have differences, that must be resolved through healthy debate and discussion. And sometimes we may leave it for you to have your view and I to have my view. But as students, as young people, the only way you will grow is by questioning, by challenging, by thinking, by debating. And not just will you grow, will our society grow, will our community grow, will our country grow. Thank you. Well, I said one question, but anyone else? I like these spontaneous questions. Okay, right there at the back, come fast.
Sir, you had talked about how the world is changing and how AI is taking over the workforce. And so there's this book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, and it has a chapter that talks about how this is going to psychologically and physically and mentally upset the upcoming generation, and how the future generation should be able to cut back and be flexible enough. Do you think the schools right now are teaching children to be flexible enough? And do you have any suggestions or ideas how the schools can develop children to be flexible enough for the future?
Well, technology is moving so fast and society is changing so fast. When you have the whole of the internet available to you, you have access to so much knowledge and information that many of your teachers don't have. And schools, unfortunately, because they are part of a system, they have to work in a structure. Ultimately, when you compete with other schools, when you as students compete with other students, when you apply for an admission to a college, when you apply for jobs, how will they judge you? What is the yardstick? To some extent, They will interview you, they will talk to you, they will judge you. But a common yardstick is a common exam, the CBSE exam. And when there is a board which sets the exam, sets the syllabus for the school and creates rules and guidelines, and not just the board, you have the state government, you have a whole host of authorities who create structures within which they have to function. So they cannot deviate from those structures too much, but they can innovate and you can innovate. Therefore, what is important is to remember your learning doesn't stop within the classrooms. Your learning is every moment of your life. It is at home, it is on the streets, it is on your playground, as well as in your classroom. Your learning is from your teachers, from your parents, from your siblings, from your peers, from your friends, and from the wide world out there, internet, books. I'm very happy you have read this book. So you must learn on your own, you must develop on your own. If you find the structure doesn't give you freedom, develop that freedom on your own, read on your own, understand on your own. Once you're outside the school, you will get more freedom within a university atmosphere, depending upon when and where you go to a university. And then when you go into life, you will have even more freedom. But even there, wherever you go, there will be constraints. And the most successful people who have broken out of those constraints. Steve Jobs was a university dropout. So it is not because of a university degree that he created his company. So there are any number of people like St.Chavara. It's not because of a university degree that he became a saint, but for his service to humanity. So each one of you have an opportunity to be unique, to be different. As I said earlier, tell yourself God has put you on this earth for a purpose. If not God, the force, nature, whatever you believe in, even if you don't believe in God, you exist, you have life, you are a precious human being. You have qualities which an animal doesn't have. You have capabilities to transform yourself, your community, people around you in a manner nobody else can. And you have opportunities to develop knowledge, to contribute knowledge, to interpret knowledge. You could become a teacher tomorrow. So all these opportunities must be used in every manner possible. School, classroom, syllabus, exam is only one portion of a larger process of learning. Thank you.
Sir, for your kindness in taking extra questions too. We could go on like this all day long, but let's remember that it's only the session that comes to an end. Questions will continue to pop up in our minds. Let's try to find answers ourselves and act on them as well. Each of these thoughts was a treasure for the present and an investment for the future. I request the dignitaries to please take their seats on the stage once again. Okay. A word of thanks can be expressed in so many beautiful ways. As a token of our appreciation, I request Reverend Father Paulus Kedangan CMI, Director of the school, to hand over a memento to Sri Venu Rajamani. I request you, sir, to receive the same. Gratitude is unending. President of the PTA, Dr. Jijo Paul, will hand over a memento to Sri Venu Rajamani. Kindly accept it, sir. I invite Gio Martin, Assistant Head Boy, for the vote of thanks.
Respected Chief Guest of the Day, Professor of Diplomatic Practice, Jindal Global Law School, and former Press Secretary to the President of India, Sri Venu Rajamani. Viga Provincial, Sekada Province, Reverend Dr. Matthew Koikara CMI. Director, Rajagiri Public School, Reverend Father Paulos Kidangan CMI. Principal, Ms. Ruby Anthony. PTA President, Dr. Jiju Paul. PTA Convener of today's program, Dr. Bruce Matthew. Heads of various institutions and well-wishers, parents, teachers, non-teaching staff, and my friends. Be thankful for everything that happens in life. It's all an experience. I quote Roy T. Bennett. Good afternoon to one and all. On behalf of Rajagiri Public School, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished guest, Professor of Diplomatic Practice, Jindal Global Law School, and former Press Secretary to the President of India, Sri Venu Rajamani, for being with us today and inaugurating the St.Chavara lecture series. The eloquent words have been a source of inspiration to each one of us. We have been privileged to have our queries answered and also be an audience to his erudition. It was a true honor to have you on the days. Thank you, sir. My heartfelt gratitude goes to our Viga Provincial, Sekada Province, Reverend Dr. Matthew Koikara CMI, for his eloquent speech. Your wisdom, experience, and inspiring words have left an indelible mark on our hearts. Your presence has added immense value to our celebration, and we are indeed grateful for the same. Thank you, Father. My sincere gratitude to our director, Reverend Father Paulos Kidangan CMI, our pillar of support who makes us strive to reach greater heights. Thank you, Father. My sincere thanks to our principal, Ms. Ruby Anthony, whose guidance takes us to the right path of success. Thank you, ma'am. Our gratitude is extended to our PTA President, Dr. Jiju Paul, who is always amidst us in all our endeavors. Thank you, sir. My sincere gratitude to our PTA convener of today's program, Dr. Bruce Matthew, for making the St.Chavara lecture series a reality. Thank you, sir. Our sincere gratitude to our finance manager, Reverend Father Anthony Kalamassery CMI, heads of various institutions and well-wishers for their gracious presence. A sincere thanks to our headmistress, Ms. Beena Baby, for taking time off her busy schedule to be with us today. We are grateful to our teachers for mentoring us to do the best in every field. We extend our gratitude to our support staff for all the help behind the scene. My gratitude is extended to the PTA representatives and parents. My gratitude is also extended to the press who have come here for a wide coverage of the St.Chavara lecture series. We are indeed thankful to all my fellow mates for being a part of today's program. Once again, I thank our management and the PTA for conducting the St.Chavara lecture series under the light of St.Chavara's example, which has enlightened everyone gathered here today. I am sure that this series is going to widen our eyes to know more by invoking a love for lifelong learning in us, inspire us to be better than who we were, and share with us the innovative and visionary ideas of our saint, letting us reflect on his life and works to remember his commitment to education, social reform, and compassion. Let us all work towards a more just and inclusive world, emulating our blessed Saint Kuriakose Elias Chavara. Thank you.
Thank you, Gio. Now please stand to attention for the national anthem.
शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभाशिष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन जन मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Please be seated. Can the students who ask the various questions please come up on stage quickly? The students who ask the questions on stage very fast. A photograph with the audience also, so please remain seated. കിട്ടുമോ എല്ലാവരെയും ഒറ്റ ഷോട്ടിൽ ഒറ്റ ഫ്രെയിമിൽ കിട്ടുമോ? A beautiful beginning has been made today. Let's continue with it. Please rise as the guests leave the auditorium. Please remain seated.